I'm Berks County Commissioner Christian Leinbach, and I want to welcome you to another Berks County Commissioners Weekly Update. The program today is going to deal with the Berks County Small Business New Start Grant Program. Before we get into the core content of our program, I want to note that any comments or questions on today's program must be germane, and if you want to comment or ask a question, please include your full name, the municipality where you reside. If you're from the media, include your name and the media that you represent. I do want to note we are having a technical issue with the hosting of the county website, and as a result, getting a copy of the live MS Teams link is not possible right now, or getting the link to the agenda. We apologize for that. If you're watching us, you're already watching on either BCTV, Facebook Live, or YouTube Live. With that understanding, if you're on either of those platforms, just simply put your question or comment into the comment section of Facebook Live or YouTube Live. Our IS staff are watching that. They will post those comments. So hopefully we've covered everything. I again want to thank our IS staff. They make the production of these programs possible. They're the people behind the curtain, making sure everything works well. We appreciate that. With that, I'm going to turn the program over for a few comments to the Vice Chair of our Board of Commissioners, Commissioner Kevin Barnhart.
Thank you, Commissioner Leinbach, and everyone who has joined us this afternoon. Especially thank you to Commissioner Michael Rivera for taking the lead from our board on the New Start program. You'll hear more about that this afternoon. I just thought I'd take a few brief moments to update the community on the CARES Act. As many of you know, the county received $38 million in federal money passed through DCED at the state level down to the county. Ron Seaman, our Chief Administrative Officer, completed our first report back to DCED yesterday. I want to thank Ron for doing that for some of our initial expenditures. You're going to hear about one of our large expenditures this afternoon. We've also set up a food insecurity program to fund Helping Harvest and other food banks in the community. And next week, I'm going to be proposing to our board the balance of the money to be allocated in certain segments, county COVID expense related, education, social services, not-for-profits, public health, and municipal entities, so that through the month of September and October, this money can be accounted for out to the community. So come November, we have no balance on hand in anticipation of any residual count of money that the state government has in the money they've been holding back from the federal CARES Act money. We have to be prepared. If there's extra money coming to play, we'd like to then send back out maybe a New Start phase 2 with any money that's left over. Some of the programs we're going to be funding might be a little robust in September and October, and whatever's left over, I'm anticipating we can roll back into some of the other existing programs. We know we're going to be oversubscribed by the businesses, and they're probably hurt more than anyone else in this community. And I believe this board, in my heart and soul, want to do right by the people of Berks County and make sure this money gets out in the hands of people that need it the most. So with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Commissioner Michael Rivera. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Barnhart. And I just want to, before I move on, thank my two colleagues, Commissioner Leinbach and Commissioner Barnhart, for the work that they've been doing with the CARES Act and with COVID and everything that's going on here in the county. We've all been working together to try to help make Berks County a better place in the midst of what's going on and to make the best of this situation that is going on. So thank you very much. I also want to thank the panel that is here with me today to share this information. Today we're going to be talking about the Berks County Small Business New Start Grant Program. And this is money that came from the CARES Act, and I'm not going to talk too much about it now because we're going to get into that a little bit later in the program. But it's money that's being designed and designated to help our small business owners if they're closed to be able to reopen, if they're still open, to be able to have that second wind, to be able to move forward with the business. We know that many businesses were hurt through COVID. We know, for example, restaurants who now can only have a 25% capacity inside, they're being hurt as well. A lot of them, if they can't do anything outside, aren't opening because they'll actually lose money at 25%. Also now the winter's coming upon us, so something needs to be done to help these businesses. And we're not only looking at the monetary part of it, for example, with restaurants, but we're also working with the state government to see what options there are for these businesses so that they can allow more people inside and that they can continue to operate and be financially sustainable as well, because it wouldn't put us in a good situation if our restaurants and other businesses have to continue to close and stop operations in our area. So that's why we're doing as much as we can to be able to help sustain and grow the businesses that are in our area. Not sure if is Jim Gerlach on with us yet. Not sure Jim Gerlach was going to talk. So just want to, before we move on, introduce the panel here today. I have Daniel Betancourt, and Daniel is the president and CEO of Community First Fund. I also have with us Alba Fernandez, and Alba is the senior community lender from Community First Fund. And although Community First Fund is based out of Lancaster, they have offices here in Berks County, specifically in Reading, and Alba is in the office here in Reading and has worked with a lot of the small businesses in our area. We also have Pamela Shook-Mennett, and many of you may have known Pamela from her work for many years at the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance, but now Pam is with the county, and she is the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer and Economic Development Director. And Pam has just been doing an awesome job here with CARES and helping put everything together for our businesses, because she's been working with businesses for many years, and she understands what the needs of businesses are. And we also have Jim Gerlach, who is the President and CEO of the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance. And what we're going to do is we have certain questions that we'll be asking, and there's one person that we've designated to answer that question, but anyone else in the panel is welcome to answer those questions as well if they have anything that they want to add to the answers. After the questions, we will open it up to a question and answer session, which I will be facilitating, and my executive assistant, Barbara Lopez, will be reading the questions that we have, and that will be directed to anyone on the panel. So again, I want to thank the panel for being here today. We're looking forward to sharing very valuable information. If you're watching us on Facebook, please share this the video, what's going on right now, the live feed. I have it on my page as well. It's on the county's webpage, but we need to get this information out to our small businesses. It doesn't matter how much money we put out there. It doesn't matter how much education we're providing. If our small businesses don't know about it, it's really worth nothing. So we need to make sure that we're sharing this information and that we're making our small business owners aware of all the resources that are available out there for them. So we wanted to start off, and I wanted to have Jim Gerlach do an overview of the Rebuild Berks campaign. Unfortunately, Jim is not on with us yet. So what I will do is I will get started, and I'll talk a little bit about the Rebuild Berks campaign. Once Jim hops on, I'll let him continue. So the Rebuild Berks campaign is a campaign between the County of Berks and the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance. When COVID hit, we said, you know what? We need to do something for our businesses. Our businesses are hurting. You know, what can we do? We need to educate them. We need to make sure that people are buying in local businesses. We need to make sure that we're making the best use of our local small businesses here in the area. So the Chamber Alliance and the commissioners came together and came up with Rebuild Berks campaign. And there are 4 parts to Rebuild Berks campaign. One part is the education part. There's free education going on for all businesses within the County of Berks. You do not have to be a chamber member, and it's open to anyone. For more information, visit rebuildberks.com. Again, that is rebuildberks.com for more information and the upcoming educational sessions. These educational sessions are virtual, so you don't have to leave your business or you don't have to leave your home. You can do it right online and benefit from the great information that is coming up that's coming up on them. They're offered in English as well as in Spanish. The second part of the Rebuild Berks campaign is Buy Local, in which we're asking people, such as you that are watching, to rather than order online from out of the state or even out of the country, if there's something that you can buy locally, please do so. If you go to the Rebuild Berks website, you will find the list of local businesses in the area. You can also submit for a local business to be featured in the rebuildberks.com. So please go on there, see what businesses are available. You may not know what people in the businesses in the next town sell, or who they are, or what they do. So please go to rebuildberks.com and get that information. Learn about the small businesses that surround you so you can support them. You have to remember these businesses are owned by people that go to church with you, that their kids playing in the baseball tournaments or the basketball league that your kids may play with or go to school with your kids. So let's get out there and let's support our local businesses. The third part of it is Connect Local, where we're saying if you have a business and you manufacture something, let's say you manufacture smoke detectors and the plastic casings you need that you bought from maybe China or elsewhere are no longer available, you can go on to the rebuildberks.com website. You fill out some information there. Someone from the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance will look at connecting your need of that plastic casing to someone who offers that, preferably in Berks County, if not in Berks County, at least in the surrounding areas. So that way we are keeping these processes local here as well. And it's helping you and it's helping the other business as well, because if you can't get what you need to manufacture your product, you're stuck. So again, rebuildberks.com. And the fourth part of rebuildberks.com is the grant part. And that's what we're going to focus today's program on. And it's the Berks County Small Business New Start Grant Program. So the first question, or the first thing we want to talk about for this grant program is it's an overview of the program, where the money came from, why the county developed this program for small businesses, and just some other details that are important to know about this program. And to do that, I'm going to open it up to Pam Shupp, who again is the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer and Economic Development Director for the county. Pam.
Thank you, Commissioner. We are so pleased to be able to talk about this grant program today, which is capitalized by the CARES funds that are coming directly to Berks County through the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that actually are coming through federal dollars. There's about $38 million that is coming to Berks County, which may sound like a lot of money, but we have businesses and nonprofits and residents and institutions that have real urgent needs as a result of COVID. And certainly one of the most impacted has been our small business community. So in evaluating what we could utilize as the parameters for a program, we enlisted the support of a partner who does this very well. And you'll hear in just a moment from our partners at Community First Fund. In developing the program, we knew that we needed to put out a safety net for businesses that may not yet have been able to take advantage of some of the loan and or grant programs that are already exist, whether they came through the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania or whether or not they were federal programs. One thing in particular that we took a look at was there was a $1 million cap for many businesses, and they were prohibited from applying for assistance through these programs. And so what we did was we made sure that we would allow businesses who had up to $3 million in annual revenue to be included as part of this program. That could include restaurants, hospitality, and certainly service industries, again, that may have been precluded from applying to previous programs because of that annual sales revenue cap. We also want to make sure that we are providing the safety net for businesses who are going to be able to continue to be open and provide them that lift that they need right now to get through this very challenging time. Because if they've survived to this point, they've already exhibited their resiliency, and we want to find the best possible ways that we can in order to support them. So we will offer grants up to $50,000, and I will turn it over to my colleague, Dan Betancourt at Community First Fund, because as I said, what you want to do in developing a program that needs to get out to the businesses that need it, you work with a partner who is very good at engaging and providing resources to our small business community.
Yep. And Pam, just before I let Dan speak, they told me that Jim Gerlach is with us now over the phone. So Jim, are you able to connect? Okay, so Jim, if you're there, you need to hit, I believe it's *6 to unmute if you're on your phone and you're muted. Okay, well, we're having still technical difficulties with Jim. What we'll do is we'll keep on down the program, and then hopefully after Dan is done, maybe we can get Jim back on the phone here so he can share some information with us as well. So the next, we're going to talk about how the program will work, who is eligible, how to apply, and those sort of details. And to talk about that, we have Dan Betancourt, who is the president and CEO of Community First Fund. Dan, welcome.
Thank you, Michael, Commissioner Rivera. It's great to work with you and your colleague, Pam Shoop. And then, of course, I want to thank the other two commissioners for approving the Small Business Grant Program, Commissioners Leinbach and Barnhart. This would not have happened without your vision to help small business owners in Berks County. So kudos to you. First, let me just start off, as Commissioner Rivera said, this is the Small Business New Start Grant Program, specifically for Berks County small business owners. And it has been mentioned by Pam. You're right, and just give a little context. We've heard different grant programs. This grant program for Berks County business owners is up to $3 million in sales. Just to give you a little context, you may recall that there was this Reading City program, and certainly that was limited to city business owners. And then you heard about the PPP program for the SBA. Then you heard about the most recent state program, also using COVID money. So this is just another source, but this program is the New Start program. And it is a grant. It is not a loan. These are specific grants, and the grants range from $10,000 to $50,000. And so we are here to announce today, right, Commissioner Rivera, that this program will launch next Thursday, September the 10th, and the website will be made available at 9 a.m. So, and we will, if we can type that up there, we'll get that up there. If my colleague Ellen can text me that, we'll make sure we get that up here on the chat room, what website that online application will open. So if you go to Community First Fund's website today, you're not going to find the application. The button will only appear at 9 a.m. on September the 10th. So I just want you to know that. It will be open for 10 business days, and it will close at midnight on September 23rd. This is not a first come, first serve basis program. There was a lot of programs that you had to rush in, and you had sort of an advantage if you got in early. We saw PPP was that way. A lot of people were shut out because the banks really focused on their clients and or first people that came in early. So what that really means is you have all 10 days to apply. You have no advantage for applying early, although I would suspect that you want to get your documents together. You're going to hear Alba talking about that. So that's very, very important that you do apply. And you should know when that application goes live on September 10th, we are going to have a call center to help you. The county commissioners have contracted with Community First Fund, and we have created a program that we're going to have an online program, and we're going to have a call center dedicated to business owners in Berks County because we want to help you apply. But there's some things that you can do. And again, Alba's going to get into details, but I will tell you real quickly, you're going to want to read the PowerPoint that's going to be on the website, and it's going to be a PowerPoint called the online application guide. You're going to want to read that, and you're going to want to make sure you read the little videos, little vignettes on how to apply, because everything has to be done online. So with just getting into some of the details of the program, as I said, grants are from 10 to 50,000, and it depends on your sales size. Obviously, the larger the sales of your business, the more you're eligible for. So if you have a business that has sales, let's say, for example, at $250,000, from 100,000 to $250,000, you would be eligible for a $20,000 grant. That's just an example. It is tiered based off of the size of your business, and that information will all be available as well. Some of the criteria, again, 3 million is the max sales, but also 50 FTEs, 50 employees. So obviously, if you're a restaurant and you have 100 part-time employees, you would fit here, because if you had sales of less than 3 million, and as long as your FTEs, or full-time equivalents, are less than 50, which I suspect most restaurants in that range will be just fine. So we made sure that you were eligible, and that was thanks to the commissioners. They wanted to make sure that you were eligible for this program, because we know that you were not eligible for the state program and the city program. So that was kudos to them for thinking about that. Your business had to have started by February the 15th, and that's a CARES requirement. You had to be in existence by February the 15th. Again, I was going to get into details of the type of documents you're going to need, the very minimal documents to apply. Remember, because this is a grant program, our goal is not to underwrite you. Our goal is just to qualify you and to make sure you're a legitimate business in Berks County. Some of the requirements are that at least 51% of your revenues in your business has to be derived in Pennsylvania. Your business has to be physically located in Berks County to be eligible. As far as the cost, when you applied, let's say for $20,000, if your business is in that range that we talked about, you're allowed to use the money for COVID-related cost only. And let me share with you briefly what that means. Very similar to the other programs that you may have applied for. It is for costs in your business that you've, any costs related to your business that you've had losses. So if you had a $20,000 loss and you have certain expenses that you were not able to pay, and they're very broad, they could be loans that were you took out before February 15th. They could be, so principal and interest, they could be utilities, they could be lease payments, they could be payroll. They just can't be the same purpose that you would have, if you applied for another grant or a loan, you cannot use it for the same purpose. It has to be a different purpose. Now, I will say that we are very aware that this grant, Berks County Small Business Grant, will never cover all your losses. You're not going to be able to expand your business. So we suspect that your losses are far greater than any of the grants or loans that you have had. We just need you to document that there are different expenses. So if you're ever audited, you should have all your receipts for the expenses of each of the grant programs that you have. That's really up to you to keep track of your record. If you have questions, please talk to your accountant. There are certain priorities for this program. Just like every program, we expect to have many more applications than we do have resources. The commissioners have allocated $6 million in small business grants. And so what that means is we have to have priorities. And these are the following priorities. Obviously, we prioritize businesses with sales under 3 million. This is focused on mom and pop small businesses. We have certain industries that we're focused on, particularly restaurants, businesses that have been real hard by COVID, like hospitality, tourism, retail, health and wellness, and personal care. Personal care meaning barbershops and hair salons, among others. So we are prioritizing certain industries, but all industries are eligible for this program. Business owners that have a low to moderate income, household income are priorities. So if you are at 80% of medium income, and I'll just give you an estimate, if the medium income in Berks County is $75,000, then as long as you're at 65 or less, that's a priority, and that's the household income. Also, if your business is located in a low to moderate income census tract anywhere in the county, that's a helpful priority. I already talked about the industry priorities. There's also a priority around businesses and the amount of loss that you've had. We're going to ask you questions in the application to determine the amount of loss. Some businesses, some have actually not had losses, and those are lower priorities. And other businesses, the health department of the state asks you to shut down. A barbershop, hair salon, restaurants will either ask to cut back or shut down. And I already mentioned those businesses that have had major losses will be a priority. There's other small preferences for women business owners, veterans, and disabled business owners. And priority will also be given to business owners that have not received other grants or loans. You are eligible. And one of the things I've learned in these other programs is people that apply for one grant program or another know how to apply for other programs. And we do not want to discourage you. You should apply for this program. Just know that we're trying to focus on business owners that haven't received anything, although you will do very well if you have received other grants in this program, if you have these other preferences. I would not worry about it because there's so many preferences here, and the preference is obviously to help business owners that have had major losses, and they're in industries that have had major losses. That's the main thing I want you to walk away with here today. There are a few ineligible businesses. I'm only going to name a few for you, but there is a list. Businesses that have obviously in default with the state and federal government on loan payments and things like that, including IRS taxes. If you have a tax plan, that's fine, but you cannot be in default and be eligible for this grant. Nonprofit businesses are not eligible. Financial service industries are not eligible, like banks and insurance companies. Passive real estate companies are not eligible. In other words, Schedule E is not a business that's eligible for this business. That's passive income. But any business owner that's a business and or Schedule C, again, Alba will get into these details. Private clubs are not eligible. If you're a private club and you restrict your membership, you're not eligible. Government entities, lobbying companies, things like that. I'll stop there. I already talked about the tiers from 10,000 to 50. It depends on your sales level. And then, of course, my colleague, Alba Fernandez, who's our community development lender in Reading, will talk about the requirements as far as how to apply, what's the best way to apply, and she's going to talk about some of the documents that are necessary. So again, Alba, if you would like to talk about those things, now's your opportunity.
Sure, thank you. I am, again, Alba Fernandez. I am the senior lender in the Reading office here in Berks County. And I'm going to talk to you about some of the documentation that's needed that we advise that you collect ahead of time before you actually start the application. And I'll also talk about some of the technicalities in the application process so that you have a complete successful application and you will be able to be considered for the grant. As Dan said, this is not a first come, first served program. So there is no advantage in submitting your application in a rush. We want to make sure that, again, you have all the documentation that you need and that it's accurate before you submit your application. So make sure that you take your time with the information because it will be evaluated based on what you submit. So there will be the application link will be available on our website on September 10th. And closer to that time, we will be placing a business certification form, which you will need to have downloaded, completed, and signed because it will be part of your application when you submit it. So look for that form. It is called the business certification form. And again, you just have to print it, sign it, and upload the signed form when you have the application. So to talk more about specifically what you will need to submit, we will be looking for your most recent filed tax return. So this would be your 2018 or your 2019 taxes. It is very important that you have your documents in an electronic form. And this would be a PDF or a JPEG format. And this is so that we will be able to read electronic forms in a more speedy manner. If you were a startup in 2019 and you haven't filed your taxes yet, internally or management prepared statement of revenue and expenses as of December 31st of 2019 will be acceptable if you don't have your 2019 taxes filed yet. And if you were a startup as of January 1st of 2020, a profit and loss statement as of March 31st of 2020 in an electronic form will be acceptable as well. You will be required to submit any form of acceptable government issue photo ID. And when it's acceptable, it has to be current and it has to be issued by either local or state or federal government. You will also be required to answer some questions in regards to your gross revenues for the entire year. So this is information that you will be able to get from your tax returns. So make sure that you have a copy of your tax returns in front of you or your financial statements. But you will also be required to answer questions on how much gross revenue was generated between the periods of March 1st of 2019 to May 31st of 2019. As well as gross revenues generated from the same time period in 2020. So this is information that you may be able to obtain from your tax preparer, your bookkeeper. If you keep your own records, this is information that you may be able to obtain from your bank statements. So make sure that you have that information in front of you when you're filing your application. Once you submit your application, obviously it will go through, we're going to wait for the application period to be complete in order for all the applications to be considered and reviewed. If your application is approved for funding, you will also be required to submit additional information. And some of this information includes copies of official filings from the Department of State or any local municipality. Some examples are the Articles of Incorporation, Certificate of Organization, fictitious name certificate, or a government issue business license. You will also be required, if you're approved for funding, to submit information about your bank account. And this will be in an electronic form as well. And this is just to ensure that we are able to provide you with the funding electronically once you submit all the required documentation. When a borrower submits an application, they will get an email from our provider that will actually have a confirmation that their application was received, as well as a password. And once they receive that password, they will then be required to log back on into the portal and upload all of their all of the information that I just actually went through. So that is important to remember. It's more of like a two-step process. You submit the information in the application before, and then after you do that, you will submit and upload your documentation. So remember that when you're filing your application. Obviously, we have some local lenders that will be able to assist in that process. As Dan also mentioned, there is an application guide that will be located in our website. So you can go through that if you still have questions. Our information, contact information is also available on the website. You can either contact us by email or by phone number. And also, as Dan mentioned, also there will be a dedicated call center number for the applicants to call if they have questions on the application as well. So there will be a lot of support that will be provided for anyone that is looking to submit an application and submit the documentation. That's what I have for now, but if obviously we want to go over more information, I'm sure there will be questions.
All right, well, thank you very much, Alba. Alba, a question for you. Will you have people to be able to answer questions in Spanish as well?
Yes, so myself and Lucy Cortez are the local lenders. We're both fully bilingual. We actually have been helping a lot of Spanish-speaking clients in our area. The application can also be converted and translated into Spanish once you're on the portal. So the applicant will be able to know exactly what the questions are as they're submitting the application.
Okay. Thank you very much, Alba, and thank you very much, Dan, for the information. Before we move on to the question and answer part, we do have Jim Gerlach now on Teams here. Jim, as I had mentioned, is the president and CEO of the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance. Jim, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Excellent. We can hear you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I apologize for our technical difficulties. I've been listening to the entire meeting and thought I was connected to you and was talking, but apparently you weren't receiving me. So I apologize for that. But you gave a great summary of the Rebuilding Berks initiative to date, and I thank you for that. You gave a good summary of where we are in both our communications and our training. And I thought maybe what I could do just for a brief moment or two is add some meat to some of that in terms of some statistics, so folks have a better idea of what this Rebuilding Berks initiative has been about with the support of the county commissioners and the funds that you've provided for that. As you indicated, that the mainstay of the program is communications as well as training. On the communications side, it is really to drive out the message that Berks Countyans ought to be supporting their local businesses by buying local in terms of services and goods and products, and then connecting businesses with businesses so that the businesses that have needs try to find other businesses that can support that from Berks County. So that's the Connect Local. So as we look at the multimedia branding campaign that's been underway, and that's been done in cooperation not only with GRCA, but also with Stephanie Weaver, the County Public Information Officer, and Strunk Media Group, there's been a lot of multimedia information going out there, from digital to radio to print to billboards that are driving the Rebuilding Berks initiative. And from all of that work, that branding work, according to Strunk Media, there's been now more than 25 million impressions. In other words, messages sent that people could see either, on their computer, on their iPhone, that they've heard on the radio, that they've seen in print, that they've seen passing a billboard. So it's pushed out a tremendous amount of information. And with that number of impressions, those that we believe actually then seen and absorbed the message of Rebuilding Berks has been in the area of 500,000, 500,000 people. So that's really good stuff. On the website itself, Rebuilding Berks, there have been nearly 40,000 unique individual hits. In other words, individuals individually accessing that site at least 40,000 times, with 50,000 sessions, meaning some of those people then not only hit that site for one time, but also then navigated himself or herself through that site beyond that. So a tremendous amount of exposure that way through that messaging. We've also, in the buy local strategy, have had consumers nominate local businesses as businesses they want other people to know about and to patronize. And consumers out there across the county have nominated 280 local businesses, and we've been using those businesses as part of the ads that have been run digitally or even on billboards. And that's been a great way to get those businesses' names and missions out there for consumers. And then in the Connect Local initiative, we've had about 50 businesses use that website to say, hey, I'm looking for another Berks business that might be able to help me with this service or that product. And so our staff has been taking each of those requests individually and trying to connect business to business. So we think all of that exposure, as well as that individual attention to businesses that have connected with us on the Connect Local, has all been very, very helpful. And then you also mentioned the training side. We had a really good number of businesses, about 100 businesses go through in June, our best practices for reopening your business certificate program, which was designed to help them understand state guidelines, workplace cleanliness and safety protocols, human resources guidelines, office safety, legal issues. So we had 100 businesses go through that. And now through the end of this year, we'll be running 70 free online programs to help businesses in various areas of finance, accounting, communications, leadership, all that sort of thing to help them through this continuing pandemic time. Just through the end of August, we've had 200 businesses register for these programs, including 425 individuals. So we're very excited about that participation. And then finally, of course, education is a big deal to our employers in Berks County, and of course the employees that work at those places of business because they have kids in school. So we ran a series of webinars called State of Education in Berks County, and about 317 attendees participated in those discussions with intermediate unit officials and school district officials to talk through issues surrounding educational programming, what our school district's going to be doing through this pandemic period. So all of that's encompassed in the Rebuilding Berks initiative and is really based upon the support and help that the county commissioners have given to GRCA to accomplish this. So we appreciate the commissioners' support and efforts, and we will continue to report back beyond these statistics for the remainder of the year on how we're working together to help business in Berks.
Jim, and I want to thank you for this information and commend the work that GRCA is doing in reference to Rebuild Berks and helping our local economy grow again. And something that you mentioned there, it's very important. It's not just about having businesses be able to reopen again, but it's having them being able to, one, reopen safely, protecting both their employees and their clients as well. But it's also looking at how they can do business differently now, because through COVID, the way consumers buy has changed, and businesses need to make sure that they're meeting the customers where the customers are at this point. We don't know how long COVID is going to last. We don't know if it'll get better, if it'll get worse. We don't know where it's going. So businesses need to make sure that they're able to transform themselves to be able to meet the needs of the clients today and how the clients are buying and consuming goods and services. And one of the other points that you brought up that's extremely important as well is how not having kids going to school a full day, 5 days a week, how that's affecting businesses as well. It's affecting businesses with employees. It's affecting business owners as well. So I'm very glad that you had that conversation with business owners and the IU and the school districts as well, because that's a reality that's affecting all of us right now at this moment as well. And some jobs are able to have more flexibility, but other jobs are not able to have as much flexibility to be able to deal with school, with the kids not being in school all day, 5 days a week. So I appreciate all the work that you're doing at the GRCA to help our local economy get strong again.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And back to the grant program, which is basically the fourth leg of the Rebuild Berks. Dan, is there anything that you want to add that maybe came up as a question while Alba was speaking or while Jim was speaking? Is there anything that you need to add before we go into the Q&A part?
Yes, just real briefly, there was a mention. Pam, did you want to say something? Okay, I just saw you pop up. There was 2 websites that actually have the application, and the button will go live, as I said, of September 10th. One is, and Jim and you have talked about it. I just wanted to put it here. Obviously, this is rebuildberks.com, and you go right to the grant program, and you can see there's all the information we've talked about here today is right there, the eligibility and the checklist to apply, and then the button will be there on the day at 9 a.m. on the 10th, where you can apply, and then the other resources will be there, as has been mentioned, the application checklist. Also on Community First Fund's website, you'll see when you go under COVID on the homepage, you just push COVID and you'll find the Berks County, New Start Grant Program for Small Business. You can see our partners there with the county and of course the chamber. But there's 2 resources, which is, again, it's on Rebuild's website, it's on our website. There's a fact sheet here in English, and that fact sheet actually goes through all the details that we have talked about, the program eligibility, the levels of financing, and then eligible businesses, and of course the documents that you need. Alba went in that in detail. And then finally, I also want you to know that you can also find the checklist, more detail on the checklist and documentation. Again, go ahead there on either the Rebuild Berks website and our website, and it talks about all the things you're going to need, including your tax return and all that. So, Michael, there's plenty of resources there to share, and those were those documents up? Were people able to see that?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yep,
we're all learning technology. I took it down now, but that's just what I wanted to add to the conversation, Michael. Thank you.
Okay, great. And I have a question either for Dan or Alba or Pam, whoever wants to answer it. If I'm a business and I've already applied and received other pandemic funding from another program, can I apply for this program as well?
My partner, Pam?
Yes, you can. The one thing that we just want to clarify with you is that you can't duplicate the request. So if you've received funds for something very specific, you can't receive funds for the same thing again. Priority will be given to those businesses that have not previously received support, but it does not make you ineligible for this program.
Okay, so basically, if you received PPE grant, funding for payroll for May and June, you can't apply for this money for payroll for May and June. You could do it for July and August.
Right.
To give an example. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So this is an overview of the Berks County Small Business New Start Grant Program. Like Dan said, you can either go to the Community First Fund website and get more information there, or to rebuildberks.com and get more information there. It's important that you go on, look at the list that Alba went over earlier, go over that list, because there may be things on there that you don't need, that you don't have right now, but that you need to start getting. So don't wait till the last minute. Go on there now, see what you need, start preparing the documents that you will need. Some of the information you will have to provide when you apply. Some of the other information you will only need if you have been chosen and selected to receive one of the grants. But either way, you want to go and you want to get that information readily available for when you apply. I have another question, Dan, is if the application process is open between September 10th and September 23rd, when will I know if I'm a recipient? And if I am a recipient, when should I expect the funds?
We expect to share with the business owner 2 weeks after the close, within 2 weeks after the close of the round. And then what we'll do is we'll start funding it thereafter every day. There's a little bit of work that the business owner has to do after we approve them, because what we're trying to do is get them through the application process quickly as possible. We're not asking them for everything. There are things that after we approve you, you're going to have to collect, like the articles of incorporation and other things like that. So, but we're on the front end, we're trying to make it easy. There's a couple documents you got to get together if you're approved, and so it may take a couple days after your approval to get everything to us, and then we'll start funding thereafter.
Okay. Well, great information. Thank you very much for this information on the New Start Grant Program. Barbara, do we have any questions today for our panels?
We do not have any questions posted at this time.
Okay, so no questions as of now. So if we don't have any questions, before we finalize, I just want to touch on, there's another grant program that's available right now as well. It's separate from the New Start Grant Program. We didn't want to touch on it before because we didn't want to get people confused, but it's a grant program that's available right now, and it's for small businesses. And I'm going to let Pam Shupp talk a little bit about this program, what it is, how it differs, and where you can go to apply. So Pam?
Thank you. There is a program out right now called the Small Business Restart Grant Program, and you can access that online application at nhsgb.org. That grant program is available for small businesses who have up to $1 million in annual revenue and have up to 8 employees. And it is a program that is capitalized by county community development block grant dollars, and it is available to those small businesses that qualify anywhere outside the city of Reading. The city of Reading did have some federal dollars where they were able to capitalize their own grant program, and these are the county dollars that are, again, community development block grant, and it is available right now. Again, that website is nhsgb.org.
Okay. Yeah, and great information, and it's I appreciate you, Pam, explaining that this program that you were talking about is for businesses outside the city of Reading. And I just want to make clear, because it's come up many times before, it's not that the county does not feel that businesses in the city aren't important. We do feel that businesses in the city are important. The city is the county seat, so we very much understand that the city is very important to the county's economy as well. But what happens is, because of where these funds come from, this particular pot of money is restricted for use outside of the city of Reading, because the city of Reading gets an allotment from that same pot of money for use within the city of Reading. So we are not allowed to use county money for city and city money for the county. That's why this second grant program, the city had their program that they did with this same pot of money allocated to the city. They had that about a month and a half or so ago, where it was about $1 million they did, and now the county has this pot for businesses outside the county. So if you are a business of up to $1 million in gross revenue, up to 8 full-time employee equivalents outside the city of Reading, you're able to apply for this grant program as well, and there's still money available in this grant program. Okay. Mm-hmm. So before we close, to any of the panelists, is there anything you would like to add before we say our goodbyes today? Okay, well, thank you very much again to Dan Betancourt, President and CEO of Community First Fund, Alba Fernandez, Senior Community Lender at Community First Fund, Pam Shupp, Deputy Chief Administrative Officer and Economic Development Director for the County of Berks, and Jim Gerlach from the President and CEO of the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance. Thank you very much for your information. Thank you for watching our program. Again, please share this information with as many people as you can. We need to make sure that our businesses in Berks County are aware of this information, are aware of the educational programs, are aware of the grants, and are aware of Rebuild Berks. So rebuildberks.com. Again, rebuildberks.com. Thank you very much and have a good afternoon.